Days like today make me wonder, did I make the right decision? This is the coldest day of the year. I would have otherwise been inside on my couch with my Afghan, staying warm. But duty calls, and that is the challenge when you are in firewood delivery and your core customers are restaurants. Restaurants are on their own consumption and they hit when they hit. And this one hit right on the coldest day of the year. Now, I did my best to take their wood yesterday, but I had a little hiccup with my truck, and when I'm done with this delivery, I'm gonna show you what happened with my truck. This was that new truck, the new used truck that I purchased, and I'm highly annoyed by what happened, and I will share it with you. I'm not passing blame on anyone that I know, because it could have been, well, it's a long story, but let me show you when we get back to the house. Right now, it is, I think we're at -10. It's earlier in the morning, and I got to get this truck loaded for a restaurant. And I was wanting to bring the new truck here, but you know, it's got that locking rear end, and the ground here is still pretty jagged and uneven and serious. When I get over into this area, it gets a little, there's like a, what do you call one of those things where the runoff goes into? It's got one of those, and it makes it a little bit hard for two-wheel drive. And my truck that I got today, it'll get stuck in here in July, you know? And that's why I wanted to bring that other truck. It's got that locking rear end, but it overheated. It was froze up, and oh boy, I spent all day I brought it into the garage to get it warmed up, and it was just stress. And I had tunnel vision on that truck getting it running again. So that meant today I'm taking the firewood delivery to this restaurant, but my gosh, it is freezing out here. The coldest day of the year was last night, and we're not going to have positive temps until, I think they said 3 p.m. today. So we got a ways to go. But I think cold weather exposes, your operation. It lets you know how efficient, how effective you are. It helps you understand how you need to adjust. Like last year, we never got the snow, which was my first winter in here. And I was thinking, I had a plan for the snow removal, but it didn't snow at all. And this year, while it's been super cold, we still haven't had that much snow. And this is nothing, compared to what we normally deal with here in Northeast Ohio. I'm pointing north, and that's Lake Erie. We're 30 miles inland. And as long as Lake Erie is not frozen, we're vulnerable for the big snow, which they got up on the lake this year, from Jefferson north to Ashtabula, and then all the way to Erie and Buffalo. It's just a interesting dynamic of this region. We are delivering firewood today on a super cold day. I'll be honest with you too, I think there's only so much I can do in filming in this intense cold. My toes are numb, my fingers are numb, and I got to get the truck loaded, and then I got to get it delivered, and then I'm going to get back home, and then when I get warmed up, I'll go back outside and tell you what happened to that truck.
I got the truck all loaded for you. What else you need done?
Like I said, I have to get this truck loaded and I have to get it delivered. All right, here we go.
Hey, would you mind lending me one of those hand warmers that you're using?
We are driving, and you happen to notice how dirty the windshield is. That is because the washer bottle is frozen, so I have no squirters on this. More of the hazards of wintertime firewood delivery. But This winter delivery, though, has got me thinking, because, you know, I don't work when it rains, which here in Ohio, I think it makes me pretty smart because it gives me half of the year off. Maybe my big problem is that I drive Ford trucks because they start in the wintertime. If I were to have a Toyota or a Chevy or a Dodge or something, you know, I could take all the cold days off too. And here I am. I got to get all of this unloaded, put it in the woodshed. Oh, cold, man. But this is what we've signed. This is what I have signed up for. Professional firewood delivery on a cold Ohio morning. Here we go. And that's how we do it, man. Coldest day of the year, firewood delivery, getting the wood brought down here, getting it stacked. These restaurants depend on you. Their consumption is consistent. Doesn't matter what day it is. You can plan, you know, if you're going to be coming up on a holiday, you can like avoid that, bring it before. It's after you have a restaurant long enough, you just get a sense of their, you know, you got your finger on their pulse. You know when they're going to be needing wood. You can forecast when it's going to hit, and then you can schedule accordingly. Just like this restaurant here, I have my finger on their pulse. I know when their schedule is going to be, you know, wanting more wood. I'll have my truck loaded in advance, waiting.
I got the load all stacked. You want your coffee refilled before we go?
I did a short on this. I don't know if you saw it. This is my new truck. It's used. It's high mileage, but it's been a very good truck. I know before I bought this truck that it had front end damage that they had repaired. They put in front grille and that black trim, and it has a brand new radiator, a new, what's the air conditioner thing? The evaporator, the condenser, that thing. And it has a new reservoir. So, and it has all new radiator hoses too. And that top one, if you're familiar with these 5 liters, that top hose that's shaped like a Y, they're expensive. They're just around $100 for them. So this had a complete cooling system replaced on it. And I'm pretty sure that the water pump is new. I am not totally sure because the engine got detailed, you know, it got pressure washed and cleaned off. So my point is, though, it has a brand new cooling system, radiator and all that stuff. I took this truck out yesterday and it was below zero. And I got halfway down the road and I realized that the heat isn't working. And then the temperature gauge is pegged and my truck's overheating. So I was like, this thing's frozen up. What the heck? I brought it home. I put it into the garage. I turned the heat up in the garage and I let it sit there all day until it warmed up. I put some space heaters under the radiator, and how could this truck freeze up? It was cold, but it wasn't that cold. So I drained the radiator out, and what do you know? I'm looking at pure water coming out of that radiator. And it is, let me show you, I have, if you look on my short, this was a frozen block of ice. It's loosened up a little bit now. But some mechanic somewhere put all of this work into this truck, putting all of these cooling system parts in here, a radiator for crying out loud, the reservoir. They did all of that and they filled the truck up with straight water. Are you serious? I am very agitated about this, and I'm not upset at the guy that sold it to me, because I think he's not the mechanic. I think he sends these stuff out for other people to work on it for them. But the point is, who's the mechanic? You know, who's the shop that did this work, that put their name on this job to let this thing go out here in Ohio with straight water in the coolant, in the radiator. This thing froze up in 5-degree weather. It froze. And, you know, if you've ever had a vehicle freeze up, the radiator freezes up first, then the heater core, and then the engine block. And this truck, it cooked before I could get it back. I had no heat coming through those heater hoses. I really wasn't sure. I was thinking maybe the thermostat stuck on it. But, you know, the heater hoses route differently on this, and the thermostat shouldn't play a role with that. And that's what I was thinking. This thing's frozen up. Are you serious? I just did the cooling system on my other truck, and it's fine because I did it right. So, okay, the bottom line is it took me $21. I drove to the Ford garage, and I got me I got a gallon jug of the Ford Yellow. It's VC13G, if you're interested in this kind of stuff. It's the oat style coolant, but you don't want to put this on your oats. It's poison. All right. But I refilled it with that, and I figured, well, it's all water that's still in the block, so I just poured straight antifreeze into it, and now it's fine. My big fear was what broke, because, you know, ice expands, but I might have dodged a bullet with that, because the truck, I drove it around after I got all the water drained out, and I put coolant in it. It seems to be fine. The heat's fine. It runs just as good as it ever has. But to prove myself right, I set this pan out in the winter last night, and it was a frozen block of ice this morning. It's warmed up some here, and I think the sun, you know, hits off the garage door. It's warmed it up a little bit. But check my short and look and see how this coolant froze up into a block of ice. Boy, that just agitates me. That there is a mechanic out there with that level of integrity, you know? And putting something like that into the hands of, I mean, this could have gone to someone that doesn't have a lot of experience with vehicles. They could have cooked the engine in this thing. I dodged a big one here with this. But that is what's been on my mind about this cold spell. I mean, I still got firewood deliveries to do. This truck plays a large role with it, and that got put into my hands. Now, it's buyer beware. I understand all that. It's ultimately my fault, you know, because I'm responsible for this. But don't you think if someone had the skills to put together a whole cooling system like that, that they had filled it up with antifreeze? Am I asking for too much here? I tell you. All right, guys, I'm freezing to death. I've had a long day putting all that effort in with loading my truck and getting it stacked, and it's cold. But let me know what you think about this deal with this truck. And that one, there's a mechanic out there, guys, who works on this kind of stuff and fills it up with water. And that mechanic is right here in Ohio, for crying out loud. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know your thoughts on this, though. Everyone have a great day.